Huge story across the globe tonight. Reaction to the death of Pope Francis. The pontiff died this morning. He was 88. The Vatican releasing his death certificate saying he died of cerebral stroke, which led to his heart stopping. Now, a solemn service this evening in St. Peter's Square. The faithful gathering, rosaries in hand, offering prayers for the pontiff. His death comes just a day after Easter, when he celebrated with thousands of faithful, blessing the crowd from the balcony and greeting them in his Pope-mobile. In his final message Sunday, the Pope calling for peace and unity around the globe, urging an end to the conflicts in the Middle East and Ukraine. On Sunday, he also met with Vice President Vance, who says he was happy to see him.
Also, it should be a reminder to all of us that it's important that we live this life well, because we don't know when this life will come to an end.
Cardinals from around the world now are making their way to Rome. President Trump and First Lady Melania will attend Pope Francis's funeral, this according to a post on his Truth Social platform. And we're getting local reaction tonight as our Big 7 list moves along. Bishop Mark Beckman of the Diocese of Knoxville sharing a message today. He said, quote, "As we join with Catholics around the world in mourning, we remember his humbleness and his legacy of care for creation, mercy for our poor and marginalized brothers and sisters, and a profound joy in the lives of each of us in living and sharing the gospel as followers of Jesus." Pope Francis helped reshape the Knoxville area's church leadership. You may recall last May, the Pope appointed Beckman as Bishop of Knoxville. The move came almost a year after the previous Knoxville bishop resigned under pressure. Pope Francis accepted Bishop Richard Sticka's resignation in June of 2023. Sticka stepped down following allegations he mishandled sex abuse allegations he denied. Well, today the Diocese of Knoxville placing the Pope's picture on the altar during noon Mass and praying the Rosary in the Pope's honor following Mass. Dorothy Curtis, a Catholic and a sacristan at the Cathedral of the Most Sacred Heart of Jesus, says that she was surprised by the pontiff's passing.
Saw the suffering that he was enduring, the great pain, the pain of carrying the church, the pain of carrying the world in our spiritual battle. And now he's in peace, and battle's over for him.
Specific set of events is underway now. The Vatican follows after the passing of a pope. Dates for a funeral have not been announced, but the procedure requires that to happen between 4 and 6 days after his death. Then follows 9 days of official mourning. A papal conclave, the gathering of cardinals to choose the next pope, is set to begin at the 15 to 20-day mark, but cardinals can push that date forward. Our next Big 7 story for you, the criminal case moving forward in connection with a deadly wreck. A woman has now been indicted in the crash last year, which killed a Knoxville City Council member's daughter. Savannah Stanley has been indicted on 5 counts, including unlawfully and recklessly killing Kylie Roberto in that crash while intoxicated. 2 others were injured. The head-on collision happened on Schaefer Road in West Knox County last April. Kylie Roberto was 21 years of age and was the daughter of City Councilman Andrew Roberto. Councilman Roberto shared a statement saying in part, quote, "The past year without Kylie has been incredibly difficult for our family as the judicial process begins. Our family's focus will remain on Kylie and honoring her legacy. We deeply appreciate your continued support and prayers for our family," end quote. Well, the big impact of the rising cost of living is next on our Big 7 story list for you tonight. We're zooming in tonight on rent in light of a new study by Wallet Hub that compares the median household income of a city to its median rent. Knoxville ranks low on the list, and low, we should point out, is not good. 152 out of 182 cities examined, meaning only 30 cities were less affordable than ours. Recent numbers from the East Tennessee Realtors Association show about half of Knoxville and the surrounding area are considered rent burdened, which means they are spending more than 30% in most cases on their rent from gross monthly income. Now, Maria McHale, Government Affairs Director for the association, says the rental market has appreciated over the past 10 years.
When we were looking at the rental market towards the beginning of this year, it looked like we have about 1,500 units that should be completed in the coming year. So that's a really good number of units, and those are at all varying price levels. So we do anticipate that the rent might continue to rise a little bit this year, just because we're not quite keeping up with the demand in terms of the numbers of apartments that are needed.
McHale says realtors expect the housing market to get slightly better in the months ahead, as you heard, possibly helping with affordability. From one big economic worry to another as our list rolls on to the potential impact of new tariffs. We've been checking around for more businesses feeling the pinch, and today we found a business that serves model train collectors, telling us those customers can expect a significant price increase. Scale Trains is a model train company based here in East Tennessee. The company's president says 90% of model trains are manufactured in China, where back and forth tariffs with the U.S. are starting to send prices soaring. Building its own factory in the U.S. would cost millions and put production on pause for months.
We're going to have to raise prices. At 145%, there's no way we could absorb the tariff. You know, if we were at 20 or 25%, we could take on a good chunk of it, but this is way beyond that.
Wilson says a model train they announced last year that will be delivered to customers this spring will likely need to be increased by $175 to cover the cost of the tariff. Big safety message next on our big story list for you tonight. Today is the beginning of Work Zone Awareness Week. It's an initiative by the Tennessee Department of Transportation urging everyone to slow down and watch out for workers in active construction zones. If you were traveling down I-640 today, you may have seen some of these barrels on the side of the road. There are 113 total. Each one represents a TDOT worker who has died. Among those memorialized is Carl McGinnis, who died in East Tennessee in 1987 as he was leaving his truck on a work site. His daughter telling us that he was hit by a driver who lost control of their car while speeding through a work zone. And she says she will never forget the day her dad didn't come home.
These men and women that work these work zones, they have families waiting for them to come home to over evenings. And, you know, the day that we got the call that Dad had been in an accident, you know, we didn't know how bad or anything. And just within a matter of hours, our world had been turned upside down because he never made it out of the ER.
She tells us her dad worked for TDOT for nearly 14 years, and now they use his story to help train incoming workers on safety. But in the 38 years since he was killed on the job, she says a lot has changed and urges drivers to slow down, pay attention, and look out for the men and women working along our roadways.